Welcome to episode 113 of Uncovering the Corners of the World podcast. I'm your host, Karina Kasmala. Using research and my personal experiences where I actually set foot in some of these places, I'll be describing some of the unknown attractions in both the U.S. and around the world, as well as share some of the hidden landmarks of some well-known places. This week we drive to Maine, the 23rd state of the United States located on the East Coast. It borders New Hampshire, the Atlantic Ocean, and Canada. To celebrate the United States' 250th anniversary, we drive out to Acadia National Park in Maine, the first national park east of the Mississippi River, located on Mount Desert Island. Frenchman Samuel Champlain named the island Mount Desert Island after directing an expedition to the island in the 1600s. Prior to the French and then English setting foot on Mount Desert Island, Native Americans called this island their home. Acadia National Park's prominent beauty is filled with granite-covered mountains, sweeping coastlines, and crisp, sweet, pine-filled forests. Whereas for me, sweat pours down my back, bugs nibble at my elbows, the sun scorches my neck as I climb Cadillac Mountain, the tallest mountain on the East Coast. Cadillac Mountain measures 1,530 feet tall, or 466 meters. Most hikers know this mountain as the first place to see the sunrise in the United States over the island landscape. Cadillac Mountain is primarily covered in granite, dry, shallow soil, and different-sized boulders. Along the way, you'll find spruce and pine trees, similar to what you'll find when climbing the South Ridge Trail to the summit of the mountain. The South Ridge Trail starts off with a forested path and gradually ascends into a granite ridgeline overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. While the South Ridge Trail is one of the longest ways to climb to the top of the mountain, a 7.1-mile trip, there are two alternative paths that are slightly shorter. The North Ridge Trail is steeper, but is only a 4.4-mile round trip through exposed granite rock. There is also the Cadillac Summit Road, a 3-mile drive on a winding road to the top of the mountain, but requires a vehicle reservation that has to be purchased ahead of time. Regardless of which path you choose to climb to the top, the view is breathtaking, as you can see Bar Harbor, Porcupine Islands, and the Frenchman Bay. There's also a gift shop at the end of South Ridge Trail. Timing is important for this next stop in Acadia National Park. Found along the Park Loop Road, which wraps along the shoreline of Mount Desert Island, is Thunder Hole, an inlet between coastal rocks. The inlet lives up to the name about 1 to 2 hours before high tide, as the waves from the ocean flow into the narrow channel and push the air out, creating an echo of thunder, or a loud, thunderous sound. The waves spray over 40 feet or 12 meters, covering the coastal rocks in a white blanket. Although a magnificent sight to see, it can be dangerous to be near Thunder Hole, as the granite rocks can be slippery when wet, and it's said that the walkway to Thunder Hole is closed during stormy weather. On the other side of Mount Desert Island, near the Seawall Campground, is Seawall and the Ship Harbor Trail. Seawall is a beach where the tide carries stones onto the shore. The Ship Harbor Trail is 1.3 miles long and gives visitors a chance to see birds such as loons, eiders, great blue herons, black guillemons, ospreys, and eagles. Located close to Bass Harbor is the Bass Harbor Head Light Station within Acadia National Park. The 37-foot-tall lighthouse with the lightning rod was built in 1858 and was operated by the U.S. Coast Guard. In the following years, new structures were built near the lighthouse, such as Keeper's Dwelling, the Bell House, Oil House, and Barn. Unfortunately, the Bass Harbor Head Light Station is not open to the public, but many people have taken photos of the lighthouse that overlooks the cliffs. Besides Acadia National Park, Maine is also known for its autumn scenery and moose. When it comes to food, Maine is the largest producer of lobsters in the U.S., And the state is also famous for its wild blueberries. Unlike regular blueberries that you might find in a grocery store, Maine's wild blueberries are far sweeter and are very small, about the size of a green pea. These wild blueberries are also sweeter than huckleberries. To understand the taste of this wild fruit, we travel approximately 1 mile away from Acadia National Park to Mount Desert Bakery, located at 122 Cottage Street in Bar Harbor, Maine. Mount Desert Bakery is a small locally owned cafe and bakery that serves breakfast and lunch sandwiches, bagels, along with coffee and tea. They also have baked sweets, which is what I bought when I visited the bakery in Maine. They have a pie filled to the brim with wild blueberries, and with every spoonful you get a burst of the sweet taste of this wild fruit. Besides visiting the nearby shops and bakery in the cozy town of Bar Harbor, there's also a museum that explores the history of the native communities in Maine. At 26 Mount Desert Street in Bar Harbor, Maine, is Abbe Museum. Founded by New York physician Dr. Robert Abbe in 1926, the museum showcases a vast collection of early Native American artifacts that were founded in the Frenchman Bay area. The collection includes more than 70,000 items that cover more than 12,000 years of the Wabanaki Nation's history. Among the collection includes a birch bark mail pouch, an ash basket with porcupine curls, and a beaded deer and elk skin wedding dress. There is also an 18-foot canoe built using birch bark made by a Native American canoe maker who sold the canoe in the late 1870s to an architect from Boston. About 85 miles from the Abbe Museum is a museum that takes a closer look at puffins. At 311 Main Street in Rockland, Maine is the Project Puffin Visitor Center. At a distance, these birds with bright orange feet and snow-white bellies could be mistaken for penguins. There are 4 species of puffins, but the Atlantic puffin, measuring about 11.4 inches, can be found along the Atlantic Ocean, including in Maine. The birds live on the islands in the North Atlantic and use their wings as flippers to catch small fish. The Project Puffin Visitor Center was established in 1973 by Dr. Stephen Kress. The center spotlights conservation efforts to protect Maine seabirds' nesting areas, including puffins. The museum features maps and exhibits describing seabird adaptations and the history of the Maine seabirds. There's also real-time footage of the puffins and other birds on a remote Sea Island National Wildlife Refuge, located 20 miles away from Rockland. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Acadia National Park, check out the National Park Service website and the news article on WMTW titled, "A Gift to the Nation, the story of how Acadia National Park was created in Maine." To learn more about Mount Desert Bakery, visit the website mountdesertbakery.com. If you want to read more about the Abbe Museum, check out the website abbemuseum.org. Lastly, if you want to learn more about the Project Puffin Visitor Centers, visit the website rocklandmainevacation.com/Project Puffin Visitor Center. And to learn more about puffins, visit the Smithsonian website. The music used in this podcast is from Make Sound Music. Have a great week.